Welcome back to ILTV on the Hour. I'm Sivan Raviv coming to you live from Israel, bringing you all the biggest headlines from across the region. Here is your roundup of the latest developments coming out of Israel in this special edition during the war with Iran. We are now over 30 hours into the coordinated joint U.S.-Israeli assault on Iran, a broad synchronized campaign targeting the Islamic Republic's leadership and military infrastructure. Iran has confirmed that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Tehran at the opening of the offensive. Iran has responded with multiple waves of ballistic missiles fired at Israel, sending millions into shelters as air defenses intercepted most threats overhead. Throughout the day today, though, non-stop sirens were sounded across Israel as barrages of rockets made their way here, with impact sites as well in cities such as Tel Aviv and Bet Shemesh. Thus far, at least 9 people have been killed in a Bet Shemesh impact site, with dozens injured, and one woman was killed in a strike in Tel Aviv overnight. Dozens more injured at that site as well. We continue to follow the situation and get further updates. This is an ongoing event. Search and rescue teams are on site as we speak. A nationwide state of emergency remains in effect. Airspace is closed. Tens of thousands of reservists have been called up in Israel. Israel is at war. Since yesterday morning, the joint U.S.-Israeli offensive has hit hundreds of targets. According to Israeli officials, the strikes targeted senior regime figures, military commanders, strategic intelligence sites, and key elements of Iran's missile and nuclear infrastructure. Shortly after the attack began, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation, codenamed Lion's Roar, was launched to remove what he called an existential threat to the state of Israel and to create the conditions for a different future for the Iranian people. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that the United States has begun major combat operations vowing to raise Iran's missile industry to the ground and annihilate their navy. He also called on Iranians to seize what he described as a historic opportunity to take back their country. These messages from Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. Let's take a listen.
השמדנו בלב טהרן את המתחם של הרודן חמינאי. במשך 3.5 עשורים, רודן אכזר זה שלח טרור לרחבי העולם עם ללת עמו ושקד כל הזמן, בלי הרף, על התוכנית להשמדת ישראל. התוכנית הזאת איננה, ורבים הסימנים שגם הרודן הזה בימים הקרובים נקה באלפי מטרות של משטר הטרור. אנחנו ניצור את התנאים לעם האיראני האמיץ לשחרר את עצמו מכבלי הרודנות. ולכן אני שוב פונה עליכם, אזרחי איראן, אל תחמיצו את ההזדמנות. זו הזדמנות של פעם בדור. אל תשבו בחיבוק ידיים, כי בקרוב יגיע הרגע שלכם, הרגע שבו תידרשו לצאת לרחובות בהמוניכם, לצאת לרחובות כדי להשלים את המלאכה, להפיל את משטר הזוועות שממרר לכם את החיים.
To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms, you will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered, don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Iranian officials have confirmed the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, declaring a 40-day mourning period with the Revolutionary Guard, vowing revenge. Israel and the U.S. reportedly waited for a rare opportunity to target Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and his top advisors in his palace, leading to the unusual broad daylight strike. The report says 30 bombs were dropped on the compound. The Supreme Leader, who ruled Iran with an iron fist for 36 years and made hostility to Israel and the United States the centerpiece of his regime, is now dead at 86 years old. Iranian state media confirmed Khamenei was killed in airstrikes that destroyed his compound in central Tehran, the culmination of decades of confrontation over Iran's nuclear program and its regional aggression. A cleric who rose unexpectedly to power in 1989 after the death of revolutionary founder Ayatollah Khomeini, Khamenei was at first seen as a compromise figure, even weak. Instead, he consolidated absolute control over Iran's political, military, and security establishment, becoming the final authority in all matters of state. Under his rule, Iran expanded uranium enrichment, built a vast missile program, and funneled billions into an axis of resistance, arming and financing Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, Shiite militias in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen, all with the declared aim of confronting and destroying Israel. Khamenei repeatedly denied seeking nuclear weapons, even as Iran enriched uranium to near weapons-grade levels. He backed the 2015 nuclear deal, but never softened his rhetoric, regularly denouncing America as the Great Satan. At home, his rule was marked by brutal crackdowns. Protest movements in 1999, 2008, and 2022 were met with mass arrests, executions, and public hangings. Dissent was crushed. His word was the law. In his final years, he watched Iran's regional influence come under intense pressure as Israel struck Iranian targets and proxy leaders across the Middle East. Now, the man who shaped Iran's Islamic Republic for more than a generation is gone, leaving behind a nation at war, a region in turmoil, and an uncertain struggle over who and what comes next. Here in Israel, at least 10 people are dead and dozens injured in today and yesterday's Bet Shemesh and Tel Aviv ballistic missile attacks by Iran. 9 people were killed in Bet Shemesh and counting, along with a woman killed in Tel Aviv, with dozens injured in both sites after Iranian ballistic missiles slammed into buildings in both cities. In Tel Aviv, a woman in her 40s was the first Israeli fatality in the war. Emergency teams treated many injuries, including several children. Among those rescued from sites, including a 2-month-old infant and his older sister. All were evacuated to hospitals in Israel. Police, firefighters, and search and rescue units continue to comb through the damaged residential sites amid scenes of extensive destruction. These strikes were part of broader Iranian missile barrages targeting Israel nonstop all throughout the day today, following the joint U.S.-Israel attacks. Israel remains under a state of emergency as the conflict intensifies. In the day and a half since the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes, Iran's retaliation is extending well beyond Israel. And for the first time, the UK reported that 2 missiles were launched toward a European city, Cyprus, a European country, Cyprus, with no injuries reported. In the hours since the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes, Tehran has targeted American and allied positions across the Gulf. Some reports I'm hearing indicate that there may have been some American combat fatalities from the strikes so far. Meanwhile, officials say that damage to U.S. facilities has been minimal and has not disrupted the operations. Iranian missiles fired into the region have killed at least 2 civilians in the United Arab Emirates, including 1 person struck by falling debris in Abu Dhabi. Another fatality was reported elsewhere in the Gulf during the barrage on major cities. In Kuwait, at least 3 army personnel were injured by shrapnel after ballistic missiles were intercepted near Ali al-Salam Air Base, which hosts U.S. forces. Additional minor injuries were reported near Kuwait International Airport. Missiles have targeted cities across the Gulf, including Doha, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, Manama, and Kuwait City, prompting airspace closures and raising fears of a wider regional escalation. And tens of thousands of Israelis are stranded abroad as the war with Iran shuts down the skies. Following the joint Israeli-American strikes on Iran and the subsequent missile barrages, Israel has closed its airspace until at least tomorrow, Monday, halting all flights in and out of Ben Gurion Airport. According to the Foreign Ministry, more than 74 incoming flights were canceled today and nearly 200 more tomorrow, affecting some 42,000 passengers, including about 35,000 Israelis. If the closure continues through midweek, that number could surge past 100,000. El Al says it is preparing a large-scale rescue operation once the skies reopen, with ticket holders to be automatically assigned seats on return flights. For now, all El Al flights are suspended and new ticket sales have been halted to prioritize stranded passengers. In the hours after the strikes began, 14 flights already in the air carrying more than 2,000 passengers were diverted to other locations like Athens, Larnaca, New York, Rome, and other cities. In a remarkable development, 2 Fly Dubai flights from Ben Gurion Airport were diverted to Saudi Arabia. Israeli passengers who landed there said they were treated with respect while awaiting further instructions. Travelers are being urged to stay calm, remain in contact with their airlines, and follow official updates. The Transportation Ministry says it will provide 24 hours notice before airspace reopens. Meanwhile, more than 33,000 foreign tourists remain inside Israel, also caught in the uncertainty. And now joining me from Tel Aviv is our ILTV anchor and correspondent Lidar Gravilazi. Good afternoon, Lidar.
I'm here right now of Tel Aviv in an underground public bomb shelter. Right now, we're about 4 stories underground, and we have lots and lots of Tel Aviv citizens, residents who have set up camp here for the duration of the war. I don't know if you can see behind me, but we see tents. People have set up, entire sort of living arrangements, tents, offices. They're here with families, children, babies, dogs, all seeking shelter here in the underground bomb shelters.
So we're seeing families and children all taking shelter underground. Is this happening outside of Tel Aviv as well, around the country of Israel?
It's happening all around the country. Many people have bomb shelters in their home. Many people, however, do not. And so Israel and each municipality around the country has opened up public bomb shelters for use, and communities have rallied together to bring mattresses and food and goods for people to be able to stay in these bomb shelters for extended period of time and pass the war safely.
Now, what can you tell us about the atmosphere in Tel Aviv? You're there right now, you're reporting on the ground. What does it feel like?
So I will say that right now in this underground bomb shelter, it's pretty bustling, pretty busy. People are walking around, mingling. We've seen, really just a lot of foot traffic here. People, every family has pretty much chosen a sort of a corner in this massive underground structure to set up camp, and people are kind of walking around, talking to each other, mingling. They're pretty optimistic. They're in a good mood, I would say. I mean, look, we've had since the onset of this war, constant alerts, constant sirens here in Tel Aviv, really every couple of hours, or sometimes every couple minutes. For the last 24 hours, all through the night, we've had to run into bomb shelters. Here, they're pretty safe. They're 4 stories underground, so they don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and run to the bomb shelter like many in Tel Aviv have to do. And so the atmosphere here, I would say, is pretty optimistic. They understand the significance of this war, the importance, this historic moment, and they're all rallying together and hoping that it will come to a swift and positive conclusion soon.
Night, we did see a direct impact in Tel Aviv. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we have seen 2 impacts. Aviv, really just not far from. And again, today in the Bet Shemesh area, in which actually one of the public bomb shelters suffered a direct hit, which is, I would say, very rare and extremely unfortunate. And unfortunately, so far, we have 9 people who have been killed in that incident. Again, that was a public bomb shelter, much like this one, although a little bit, smaller, but still a very tragic loss because, according to the guidelines, they did everything right to the home front command guidelines. And unfortunately, it was really a tragic accident, not accident, of course. I mean, murder by the Iranian regime, we can say.
Absolutely. Now, in Tel Aviv, that was the first fatality, a woman in her 40s. From Tel Aviv, I'd like to turn to Jerusalem, where Mayan Hoffman, ILTV's Mayan Hoffman, is on the ground. Mayan, what can you tell us about the scene in Jerusalem?
So good afternoon, Sivan. I'm here. I'm in Jerusalem, actually at a grocery store, which is one of the few places open in Jerusalem, one of the few places where you can actually see passerby coming in and buying their goods. Most people are hunkering near their shelters in order to stay safe. While we've seen the direct hits in Tel Aviv and in Tel Aviv and in Beit Shemesh, what we have seen is that here in Jerusalem, there have been quite a number of sirens that have gone off, and many people have been forced to go into their shelters.
And what can you tell us about the scene at Beit Shemesh? I hear that it's still ongoing. Search and rescue teams are still on site. Beit Shemesh is not that far away from Jerusalem. What do we know about this?
That's correct. Beit Shemesh is really right outside Jerusalem, and actually there was some shrapnel found in Jerusalem, not from that rocket, but from other rockets that were intercepted overhead. In Beit Shemesh, as Lidar mentioned, 9 people were killed on the scene, and unfortunately we might hear of others, as United Hatzalah, Magen David Adom, Zaka, and other rescue organizations are still working there on the ground trying to retrieve. There are more than 24 people, close to over 40 people from the last report that I saw. Some have injured. I was at Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center today when the ambulances arrived with the more severely injured. Outside in the parking lot, as one woman left to go to get x-rays and scans, she was carrying a bloody towel, bleeding and crying after having witnessed such a tragic scene in a shelter where, as we mentioned, was a public shelter. Everyone did everything right. The sirens went off. They ran to the shelter, but a direct hit by ballistic missile still managed to cause extensive damage.
And a very unfortunate, a tragic incident. Mayan, are there any instructions for the public at the moment?
There are some instruction. I do want to say that I have one of the shoppers here with me, and I wanted to actually introduce him to you. Come on over here.
Sure.
And just tell us what your name is for a moment.
Mark Goldberg.
Wonderful. Mark, and tell me about what the atmosphere has been like here in Jerusalem today with the instruction of the home front commanders. We're telling you to stay near your shelter, to make sure you wait until they tell you you can get out after a siren. And of course, to pay attention to not traveling on the roads and really only coming out to do things like this, to grocery shop.
It's, you feel on edge. You're not used to this kind of feeling. There's always a feeling of freedom. Of walking around Yerushalayim, but now you're kind of careful and you're waiting any moment to hear an advisory that tells you to get ready. And so it's a tense feeling, and obviously going to sleep at night always becomes an issue because you're waiting and you get woken up a couple of times, and last night a couple of times because of the warnings, and then you have to run into our shelter. We're fortunate that we have one in our apartment, so it's not that we have to run to a public shelter. But we're just praying, and our hearts go out to those big and Beit Shemesh that just heard the news, and it just tears your heart out to know that so many people were killed and others were injured.
Thank you so much, Mark. So, Sivan, you can see that people are quite tense here on the grounds. And as you mentioned, being constantly woken up at night by the rockets here in Jerusalem and really all across the country. The rockets have been hitting from the north through the south.
And then Lidar, you're in Tel Aviv. The both of you will continue to update for us what is happening on the ground as things develop minute to minute. Lidar, any special instructions before we leave you?
So really just to follow the home front command guidelines, stay near a shelter, in the vicinity of a shelter, because the alerts can come at any moment, and really at a moment's notice. And Israelis have just a few minutes to make their way into shelters.
Before we leave you. Thank you very much to the both of you.
So
Lidar
really
Gravilazi,
just
Mayan Hoffman, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to join Azriel Bermant into the conversation, senior researcher at the Institute of International Relations, Prague, and intelligence, cyber, and security expert, Dr. Eyal Pinko. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on this special broadcast, special edition, as momentous and historic events are unfolding. Eyal, I would like to start with you, if possible. We are seeing this major Air Force attack, the largest and in Israeli history, and the first of its kind in collaboration with the United States. What can you tell us about this kind of collaboration and this kind of large-scale military and Air Force attack? It's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, also with two other dimensions. First, it's the distance, more than 200 fighter aircraft, more than 2,000 kilometers, with the coordination with the US. This is one. And secondly, we see how the US and Israel divided the targets. So the more fixed targets, the strategic targets as nuclear plants, ballistic missile bases were intercepted by the US, while a very dynamic Israeli attacks on time-critical targets, as we call them.
So the more
which we see the amazing intelligence of Israel, real-time intelligence, knowing exactly where the
bases
leaders are, where the trucks that are meant to launch ballistic missiles toward Israel. And with this amazing and real-time intelligence, the Israeli Air Force is closing the circle very fast, as we call it sensor to shooter time. In a very few minutes from the intelligence, the aircraft is firing the missile and takes down the target. I think this is not only Air Force amazing operations with coordination with the Americans, but also a great intelligence operation.
Absolutely. And we have senior Israeli officials that are saying there will not be another opportunity of this kind. Azriel, what do you think? Is this the one-time opportunity? Must Israel go all the way, and will they be able to?
Well, depends what we mean by all the way. We have to remember here that this America and Israel have different priorities, different agendas. For Israel, clearly, Iran is the most acute, is the existential threat because Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, has always spoken about its wish to destroy the state of Israel. And of course, because of its nuclear program, its weapons of mass destruction, and for the United States, obviously, Iran is not the same threat, and you have to remember that there are divisions among Americans about this war, and even within the Republican circles, not everyone is necessarily supportive, and within the MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. MAGA movement, there are some, quite a few, who are against America getting involved in wars in the Middle East. So we just hearing now about the fact that 3 American soldiers were killed. view. And of course, you also need to look at Israel's and the prime minister as well, who for him, Iran is the supreme rallying card.
Friday, the 15 days of negotiation were ended. And I do believe that Trump didn't want to really attack. He was saying all the time that peace you make out of power. Peace make out of power, it's just the ability to power project as the American forces over there. And once, he also had some pressure from Qatar to attack him from Saudi Arabia. So I think he was in some kind of not very convenient place for him. So once the 15 days were finished last Friday, and the force was over there ready to attack, coordination with Israel were concluded. So Saturday morning was the right time to start the attack. Not very convenient.
Now, can I ask you, Eyal, what you think the goals here of this attack or war, let's call it a war? Is it to enable the regime change? Is it the nuclear weapons? Is it the ballistic missile arsenal? Is it all of the above?
Yeah, I think if you want to collapse the regime, and I think that this is the main goal of the operation, you need to take down the assets of the regime. The assets of the regime, there are four. One of them is the nuclear program that the U.S. forces are aiming towards. The other thing is the ballistic and cruise missiles. We must not forget the cruise missiles over there as well. 2,500 kilometers missiles. So this is the second component which the Israeli and the American troops are aiming to. The third one is the oil reservoir, which nobody will touch, because once again, Trump at the end of the day wants to get hold of